Before that, let us close the presentation segment with Mr. Boyko Nitzov, who is team leader for gas infrastructure development at ACER, the Agency for the Cooperation of Energy Regulators. Mr. Nitzov has also a very rich background in the energy, especially in the natural gas sector, also with the Energy Charter. So we definitely have a lot to learn from him.
Thank you, Radu. I have to ask for a permission of the audience, if you don't mind, of course. I intend to visit reality. Do you agree? And also, I would ask the audience to look carefully at this map. Regretfully, the level of detail is rather high. The important thing here is that this map, probably Mehmet will remember this, dates back to 2006. So the information which you see there on the map is 10 years old. Again, I ask the audience to try to discover the differences between then and now. At the end of my presentation, we'll try to figure out whether there is some kind of change there. I also have to state from the very beginning that I will not touch on geopolitics except where I disagree with Mehmet. My presentation will be on the technical side and on ways to implement projects. I work for an agency of the European Union, so I will try to explain how we look at these issues there. First of all, Radu started with mentioning the Caspian Basin at the very beginning. Actually, the Caspian Basin is not one. It is 3 basins: North Caspian, Middle Basin, and then the Southern Basin. And those are extremely different in geology, in prospects, in what are you likely to find there, whether it is more on the liquid side or more on the gas side, at what depth. In the North Caspian, basically there are two settings, geological. One is the pre-salt, which is shallow, and that is mostly small oil fields. And then you have the deep setting, which is Tengiz, which is Karachaganak, Kashagan. And those are really deep, 5 kilometers down, more than that sometimes, with very high pressures, lots of gas in the oil, high gas to oil ratio. And what is most important from the viewpoint of producing, the content of sulfur is very high. It is acidic. So you can't just like this take it out. Even if you do, you have to build a processing plant. And that is an extremely expensive proposition as well. At one point of time, I got a call from China and somebody said, "So what the heck is the Dogbone equation?" And I said, well, it's just a simple way to state that you have to balance supply and demand on a net-back basis to markets. Otherwise, it's impossible. What this means for Caspian gas is that, in practical terms, again, I'll quote a figure, don't take it to plan any projects, it's just a ballpark figure. The cost of construction of pipelines right now is about 42 to 45 euro per inch per meter. And to have sufficiently low transportation costs for Caspian gas to Europe, you have to have because of the distance, you have to have a very large-scale pipeline to secure sufficiently low cost of transportation. Otherwise, the Dogbone equation will not work, so it will snap in the middle, all right? So you end up with a 42-inch pipeline or bigger. You end up with 22 billion cubic meters or more. And it is not by coincidence that all the projects that you see to bring by pipe Caspian gas to market are sized 42-inch or higher. Otherwise, it is impossible because of the distance. with modern technology. Maybe somebody will figure out high pressure pipelines in the future which will make smaller pipes possible, but that's today. Why is the size of the pipe from Turkmenistan to China so big? For the same reason. Which means the next problem. The next problem is that you have to have an offtake anchor for this kind of load for the pipe itself to be efficient. And this means that you have to have an offtake contract somewhere for the pipe, which is on the scale of 15 gigawatt electric equivalent. Now take a look at the size of the national markets around the region here. Former Yugoslavia, Romania, Bulgaria, Greece, Albania, all of these countries. What is the annual demand in all of these countries today of gas? It is somewhere around 22 billion cubic meters, all of them. This is the size of one pipeline. And where is that single buyer who would subscribe to this quantity in this region? Again, it is not a coincidence that all the pipelines that you see on the map here are big pipelines, starting with Nabucco, looking at the Trans-Adriatic, TANAP, every pipeline, well, Southern Stream, Turkish Stream. It is not coincidence that these pipes are big and that they're looking also not just at regional markets, they're looking at markets further apart. Because in the region, it is not the total demand that matters, it is the incremental demand that this new pipeline will supply. How big is the incremental demand in the region? Anyone guess? My guess is, well, I don't know, but maybe it shouldn't be more than 10 or 15% of the above. With any luck, and so then you can also have local discoveries. All right. So this brings the picture of the single buyer. There has been this idea that's floated a long time ago that somehow the European users of gas should gang together and go and buy gas in the Caspian together, so that these numbers match. The Dogbone equation is put together. And then let's talk about hub. Let's establish hub here, let's establish hub there so that buyers can go there and get it from the hub. The definition of hub, and that's very important from my point of view, is so far being considered as a place, a real or virtual place, a point on the map. This is not the point. The point is you have to have a way to bring buyers and sellers. Traders have to be there. It is not a place on the map. It is a meeting of traders. And you can have it any place on the map you like, as long as they meet. Most of them would not actually be on the map, probably. Most of them would probably be in one of the global centers of a gas trade anyway. Maybe in London, maybe in Houston, maybe some other place. All right. Now, what do we do at ACER? ACER is not a European regulator. This means that we're not taking decisions on behalf of national regulatory authorities, except when the national regulatory authorities, in certain conditions, cannot agree. And, well, there are two decisions so far taken by ACER. They're worth about $500 million. One for a gas project in the Baltics, another one for a electricity project in the Baltics. The framework of this decision is the so-called Regulation 347, which requires cost-benefit analysis, and which prescribes a specific procedure how to get to the point where a decision made on an investment request by a project promoter can be approved by the regulators so that they can go and implement it. So far, regionally, very few of those have been filed. The total number of filings at European level, again, I'm quoting out of memory, we keep a registry of that, and we have written ourselves to a decision, is about 20. There is 100 years of supply of gas ahead of us, according to BP review of world energy. Gas molecules are abundant. What is lacking is the understanding that without regional cooperation, without proper look at the fundamentals that govern the industry, it would be very difficult to put something meaningful together. This was my visit to reality. I don't know whether you agree with this visit or not. If you disagree, shout out. And now where I disagree with Mehmet on geopolitics. Difficulties of financing under the third package. Well, yes or no? First of all, the third package includes a route, and that's in the third package. It's not outside it, it's in it. A route which is called an exemption. So if you feel like you need an exemption, true, the exemptions are not granted forever, the exemptions are conditional, and so on, etc. But you may be exempt from third-party access rules, you may be exempt from unbundling rules, and so on, etc. And many, not many, but several at least project promoters have elected to do so. TAP is one of them. And the exemption has been granted. You can see the terms and conditions because it's a public decision. Another decision was granted to Gazprom, an exemption for Opal, Nord Stream and then Opal. For whatever reasons, Gazprom disagreed with this exemption and decided not to go ahead with that project, claiming that Europe has stopped it and the third package doesn't work and so on, etc. I don't think so. It was given under the third package on the request of Gazprom. So there must be some other reason for that. The same claims were made also for South Stream, that Europe is stopping. The European Commission doesn't have even the right to stop any project. The agency doesn't have the right to stop any project. Nobody can stop any project. It is up to the project promoter to decide to implement it or not. Yes, the signal which I'm giving is very important. The third package is about fairness. It is about equal treatment of everybody on the market. It is about enhancing competition. It is about establishing a market for gas. And if somebody feels uncomfortable with competition, with establishment of a free market, so he will not go there. But that is none of the business of anyone in Brussels, including the agency, I think. So the other one was the reliance on Russia and the desire to be reduced. Actually, quite the opposite. Russia has been a very, very good partner to Europe in many years. And if this relationship could be continued as long as the third package rules, the rules of the internal market in the European Union are respected, that would be fabulous. We have to ask ourselves why so many people don't have a problem with that. Norway doesn't have a problem with that. Producers based outside the European Union, in many instances, don't have a problem with that. Right? It is just a non-cooperative party, I would say. Finally, a final comment, again, a visit to reality of LNG. A question to the audience. Do you have any idea what is the total volume of LNG trades Caspian gas versus LNG, the competition between those two? How much LNG is traded there globally? I'll give you the number. It's about 320 million tons per year, and it grows up by 10–12%, true. It is fast increasing. What is the average size of a tanker? How many tons? Give you the number. It is about 100,000 tons of LNG. Divide one by the other, and you'll get the number of cargoes which are floating at this moment of time somewhere on the sea. What is the number? It is somewhere 10 to 12 cargoes floating somewhere now, of which 2/3 are going to Asia. All right. About 1/3, a little bit less than 1/3, is going to Europe. and the rest is going somewhere else. So how much flexibility you have in LNG? How can you really replace the delivery by a large pipeline by deliveries of LNG under these conditions? The flexibility of the LNG delivery system at this moment of time is very limited. First of all, you have to find a cargo which allows to be diverted from its intended destination to another destination. And then you'll have to find a cargo which is sufficiently close to what you need. Not going from Singapore to Taiwan, because it will take about a month to get here. Anyway. So there are many things which we'll carefully look at the terms of contracting, at the terms of implementing of projects. We try to be helpful. We issue recommendations, we issue decisions when we exercise our residual power. And we try to really help access to markets on fair and non-discriminatory terms. I think this is a very good basis for a dialogue with the Caspian countries, and this is a very good basis to be taken further on by this wonderful Aspen Institute event. Thank you so much.